On this episode of Real Chef Tips, is grass-fed really worth the price? This video is brought to you by the wonderful people at Bel Campo. Stay tuned for more information on how to receive grass-fed and pastured meats delivered straight to your door. Earn 10% off on your first purchase. A perfect gift for Father's Day. What's up, everybody? It's your man Pots and Pans. Welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited about today's episode because it's something that I literally practice and preach almost nonstop. If you follow me on social media, you know that not only am I a huge advocate for animal-based products and grass-fed meats, this doesn't mean any animal product. This does not mean processed hot dogs. It doesn't mean your standard run-of-the-mill sus cow milk, and it definitely doesn't mean going to McDonald's for a burger. There is a massive, undeniable difference between eating grass-fed animals from small and sustained farms and getting the grain and corn and soy-fed animals that are raised in inhumane conditions. So that's why we're here. I just want to shed this light on this topic a little bit more, help people understand, because these are buzzwords we're starting to see. Grass-fed, organic, pasture raised. Not many people know what they are, and even when they do and they kind of understand that it's an important thing, some people are still a little reluctant. They have questions, they have concerns. A lot of it has to do with price, and I want to start there specifically because I think that's the biggest roadblock that stops people from going from traditional grain-fed into the grass-fed, pastured sort of world. Most people are used to buying their animal meats and products in processed manners. So when most people go in and they start to look at the prices of grass-fed and pastured meats, it puts them back. They're like, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. There's no way I can spend this amount of money. But you have to get away from that. So for the rest of this video, I want to challenge you to really just be overall open-minded. But I want you to ask yourself a few questions to keep in mind for the duration of the video. As we continue to hear the benefits, ask yourself this. Can you not afford it, or have you not made it a priority? Have you made an honest attempt to budget these higher quality meats into your regimen, or are you just simply saying, I can't afford it? And finally, ask yourself these hypothetical questions. If I'm not completely happy with my health right now, does it make sense to sacrifice a little bit of money, invest it now in my health so I can save hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of medical bills in the future? If the food choices that I make today can extend or save my life in the future, is it worth it? More on this later. Now, there are many reasons why grass-fed meats are higher in price. First of all, they're higher in quality. Second of all, they're not receiving any government subsidies like the rest of these Tyson, Purdue, these mainstream chicken companies, for example. There's no bureaucratic bullshit involved. And two, a lot of these responsible small farms like Bel Campo are using traditional farming practices. They require a lot of time and effort, manpower, labor. Of course, you're gonna have a little higher price. But these are absolutely necessary costs. I say this all of the time. Your food is A1. It is your life source, it is your nutrition, it is your medicine and your preventative medicine. For decades, the US government and many governments across the world have devolved into these inhumane, unsustainable farming practices, entirely for the sole pursuit of money. And look where that's gotten us, okay? 35% of the United States is either pre-diabetic or has type 2 diabetes. Like 40% of us are obese, and it's estimated that upwards of 80, 85, 88% of people have some form of insulin resistance. Our food system is fucked. We are sicker and more vulnerable than we've ever been. So like I always say, your food is not a cost, it's an investment. Disease is a future cost, deferred by our unwillingness to invest in our health now. Grass-fed meat, organic, hospital bills. A little more expenses in the short term. Obesity, depression, heart attack, death. You decide. But now that we got all that lighthearted stuff out of the way, let's get into the benefits of grass-fed beef. Now, a lot of anti-meat advocates like to point to the, environment and the greenhouse gases and the animal farts. And sure, these mainstream CAFOs, they could be a lot better for the environment, undoubtedly. But when you actually do a little digging, look into the data, use your brain and not just read clickbait titles and jump on the vegan propaganda, you'll see that even these inhumane practices only contribute the smallest amount to the overall scope of our problems. All beef, even CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations, the horrible ones that you see in all the PETA videos, all of the beef production in this country only represents 1.9% of greenhouse gases. Yes, this is a real fact, one that you could look up. Link in the description below. Most of these GHGs and the carbon emissions are just coming from, sustaining cities and countries all over the world with electricity and power and fossil fuels. Agriculture as a whole is a very, very small portion of that problem. So now once you take that into consideration, imagine how little GHGs are produced by these small regenerative farms like Belcampo. In fact, they're net positive for the environment. And that's because these farms don't care about profit, they care about the future. They don't just care about the animals, they care about the land and the soil as well. One of the biggest issues with many modern farming practices and things that we're overproducing, let's say in this country, so our corn, our soy, our grains, they use monocropping. And monocropping is a real issue because, there's no rotation of the land. And because there's no rotation of the land, they're just depleting the soil. This is the same for these industrialized seed oils, the ingredients that you need for Beyond Meat, Impossible Burgers. These are your heroes. What Belcampo does is rotate their animals around the field on a daily basis. They allow their animals to simply graze on the grasses and then they don't return them to that same spot, usually for like 45 days or so, until they're able to regrow that vegetation and that vegetation has enough nutrients to provide for the animals. And they have many types of livestock. I mean, it's an amazing system. The pigs and the poultry are feeding on vegetation, they're eating, consuming, and then they fertilize land that the ruminant cows, goats, these other animals depend on. And then those ruminant animals just feed off of those grasses, furthermore, fertilize the soil, pooping and stuff. This multi-species type grazing cycle allows them to sequester carbon back into the soil rather than losing it into the atmosphere. These same practices allow the perennial grasses and the clovers, everything that our cows consume, to be as most nutritious as they possibly can be. They get the nutrition that they need so that we get the nutrition that we need. Remember, it's not about we are what we eat. We are what we eat. For any animal, their health and nutrition rely on the quality of the pasture that they graze. It translates into their happiness, their growth, their reproductive health, and then eventually the overall quality and nutrition of the meat that we consume. They're not supposed to be eating GMO soy and corn and all this stuff, these byproducts from other farming practices that just get thrown around, mishandled. They get infected, they might have toxins, they definitely, glyphosate, GMOs. It's a nightmare. Now, real quickly, let's move on to healthy fats. We need fats. Most people are still scared of them. Don't know why, okay? More headline reading. We need fats. We need saturated fats from animals. We need cholesterol. We also need omega-3s. We also need omega-6s. Okay, and all of these exist in animal-based fats, animal products, but they exist in the right ratio. If you want to boil it down really simply, omega-3s are very good at reducing inflammation. Omega-6s, although we need them in small amounts, in higher amounts, they can be too inflammatory and cause a bunch of other issues. Independent lab results on Belcampo's grass-fed, grass-finished meat showed that they can have as low as a 1-to-1 ratio, which is pretty much in alignment with a lot of studies showing that that's the type of dietary fat profiles that we evolved to thrive on. Tests done on that same cut of meat from 10 other mass-produced mainstream sellers showed that you can have ratios of up to 30-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3. What a fucking nightmare. And one last thing that I want to touch on here is labels. Short and sweet. Not all labels are what they seem, okay? Just like organic, you can look at an organic box of food and on the back, it could still have bullshit ingredients in it. Just because it says organic doesn't mean that it's healthy. Same thing, just because it says grass-fed beef does not mean that it's actually a good thing. You can literally start an animal on grass, day one, pops out, fetus, starts walking, yum, 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 yum. Day two, you can take it inside of a feedlot and start feeding it whatever the fuck you want, and you can still put on the label grass-fed. What you need to find is grass-fed, grass-finished. Sometimes you'll see grass-fed, grass-finished on a label, and they're probably fed grass most of the time, and at the end of their life cycle, they just feed them whatever, corn, grains, and they fatten them up. That's why it's really important to know where your meat is coming from. That's why I prefer to work with a farm like Bel Campo, because I know exactly what I'm getting. So now let's come back to it. Let me ask you the same question. Now that you know the differences between grass-fed and grain-fed, now that you know that it's better for the environment, for the economy, for our health, is your answer still the same? Can you not afford to step up and go to the next level and buy these higher quality meats? Furthermore, can you afford to not afford it? Be honest, for your health, for your family's health, for your future kids epigenetically, you want to be in tip-top shape here. Look in your budget, look in your monthly expenses and see where you can cut down on. Okay, you got Starbucks, you going to Starbucks every day? You could save $100 to $150 if you're going every single day and buying coffee rather than making it at home. Okay, switch that up. Look in your monthly subscriptions. Look at the things that don't serve you. Think about the impulse buys that you regret doing later. Go through and figure out what you can eliminate. Split Spotify with your homies. All right, use your mom's Netflix and Amazon Prime. Personal anecdote, Thanks, Mom. Can you hustle? Pick up another side job. Okay, go buy some stuff for cheap at the dollar store. Flip it on eBay. Sell all the bullshit in your garage that you're never gonna use. Do what you can to fit these higher quality meats into your budget. I'm gonna say this again. You can invest in your health now, or you can pay for it in the future. So I really hope that this is enough to sway you to at least start making baby steps. All right, you don't have to buy ribeye steaks and tenderloins right away. I preach all of the time. I preach for liver and heart. All of these organs, they're the most micronutrient dense, so nutritious for you. These are the real superfoods, and they're real cheap because not many people like to eat them. There's a lot of different cuts that you could elect for rather than the most expensive ones. Ground beef is on the cheaper side. The tough cuts you have to braise and they take time. A lot of people don't know how to cook them, so they don't purchase them. Therefore, the price is lower. Switching over from traditional eggs to free-range pastured eggs is also a great thing. Again, just start in baby steps. I'm very sensitive to the fact that people don't have a budget all of the time. I just want you guys to know how important it is so you can start to gradually make that step. That's gonna be all for today's episode. If you're ready to take the plunge, you wanna start incorporating better, higher quality meats into your diet, I have an affiliate link for you in the description below from Bel Campo. You can also follow that. You can use the code Miller10 to save yourself 10% off. Unbelievable quality, unbelievable flavor. I've been using their meats for over a month now. I'm truly grateful to be working with such an awesome company, one that's as transparent as they are, and I'm grateful that they wanted to help me out and the community out, so be sure to capitalize on that opportunity. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep cooking up. Love and peace. Manioquis. I almost forgot how to sign off on this. It's been so long. Chef out.